Wow, stories.
Am I the idiot refusing to use the word pregnant when I tell people my wife is going to have a baby or talk about her time carrying the baby? I know this is a weird hang-up, but I was raised by my grandparents and they never used the word pregnant because to them it was almost like a dirty word. It was basically seen as vulgar. Everything was always she's going to have a baby or she's expecting. So over time I developed an aversion to saying pregnant or pregnancy. I am the same way with other words, but those are not at issue here. I guess my wife never noticed or didn't think much of it until we found out we were going to have a baby. One day she asked me about it and I explained the same thing I wrote above about how it wasn't something I grew up saying. It seemed to bother her a lot more than I would have thought, and it created a bigger disagreement than I would have ever expected. Because of my explanation, she says that by me not using those words, it makes her think that I feel what she is doing is dirty, or something shameful, and to be hidden. She thinks I secretly judge her. Weird take. I obviously don't feel this way, and my hang-up has nothing to do with her or the baby. It's purely about comfort and certain language not being part of my vocabulary. I really think she is making too much of this, and perhaps it is being used by her as projection for her own insecurities. I don't think my language choices in this case make me an idiot. She disagrees and wants me to start using the right terms to describe what is happening. Not the idiot, what the hell, I don't understand why so many people are calling you an idiot. It's obvious you don't see her pregnancy as disgusting. It's just your preference of words and what you grew up around. You're obviously not the idiot, but your wife is pregnant and the fight will obviously get bigger, so just be the bigger person and agree with her for a smoother pregnancy. You're the idiot. Okay, so you're grown up enough to get married, have sex, impregnate your wife, but not able to say the word pregnant? She is literally pregnant. I would feel uncomfortable if the person who impregnated me was skirting around the word pregnant all the time. Grow up. Am I the idiot for declining to walk my daughter down the aisle at her wedding? About 8 years ago, I got a message on Facebook from a teenager asking if I knew her mother back in college, because she might be my kid. Now, after I got over the shock, I messaged her back. We talked a little bit. I paid for a DNA test and it turns out I have a daughter. We'll call her Jenny. We talked for a little bit. I got to know her stepdad, Jim, and her mom, Tina, ONS. I didn't even know her last name 25 years ago, and her younger half-siblings, and they're all pretty cool. In particular, I cannot praise Jim enough. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Basically a human teddy bear, this guy. Overall, I'd say Jenny and I have a decent enough relationship. I never married and I don't have any other children, so I've been taking her on vacations with me, and she spent a few holidays at my house. But overall, our relationship is much more like that of two adults, rather than a parent and child. She doesn't call me Dad, she calls him Dad, and me Matt. I contributed to her college fund, but not as much as Jim and Tina did, and that wasn't as big a deal for me because I make a lot more money than they do and have no other kids. Last week, she called me to tell me that her long-term boyfriend proposed and asked me to walk her down the aisle. I told her that I was honored, but that I didn't think it was fair for me to take that moment from Jim, who raised her since she was a toddler, just because we share DNA. She said that she actually wants both of us to walk her down the aisle, one on either side. I told her that I didn't think it was fair to ask him to share that moment either, and that even if Jim said he was okay with it, and I'm sure he would, because Jim wouldn't deny Jenny anything, no matter how much it hurt his feelings, it probably broke his heart for her to ask that, and she said okay, and hung up, but she hasn't been as happy to talk to me since. Am I the idiot for saying no, or do I just need to give her some time to adjust? Edit. Thanks for all the advice. Last night I called Jenny, apologized for hurting her feelings, and asked her to meet Jim and me for Sunday brunch so that we could talk about and work out how to do this all together. So we'll hopefully come to an amicable solution that makes everyone happy. Edit #2, post brunch update. Sorry this took so long, brunch ran late. It kind of turned into lunch, and then into the waitress giving us mean looks for hogging a table for so long. But the talk was productive and I tipped well, so I call this a win. So we all met at the restaurant. Jenny, Jim, Jenny's fiancé, who by coincidence has the same name as me, so we'll call him Other Matt, and me. We beat around the bush for about 20 minutes while we ordered and waited for our food, and then we got down to it, and after a lot of discussion and reassurance that we all love each other very much, except other Matt, who barely knows me but seems all right, we came to a decision. I will walk Jenny into the church and pass her off to Jim, who will walk her down the aisle while I get to my seat. Thanks again to everyone for the advice. I'm really looking forward to the wedding. No idiots here. But I think you're looking at this the wrong way. This is your daughter's wedding, not Jim's. So isn't what she wants for the day the important thing? She considers you her family and she wants you to be part of that moment. That's a great honor and she probably felt extremely rejected when you said no. You have known her for almost a decade. She sees you as another father figure. You're not some rando swooping in to steal Jim's glory just because you're the bio dad. He may even be just as happy to have you on the other arm, because if he loves Jenny, then having more people in her life who care about her can only be a positive thing. I would really reconsider accepting her offer if it's still on the table. I think she will be very hurt if you stay firm in your relationship, and it may do some permanent damage to your relationship. You're the idiot. It's her wedding. It's her choice. And yes, you can advise, but this isn't really your call to make. It's her and her future husband's as it's their day. Of course you can refuse, but you're still taking the choice away from her on her wedding day. You are treating her like a child instead of discussing it like an adult.